Hello everyone. So there was, kind of still is, a heatwave in Europe. I think you have heard of it by now. I kind of want to talk about it a little bit. So I was grocery shopping today, and while I was about to pay, I looked to the side, see newspapers, and guess what? In Cologne, one of the major cities in Germany, last weekend, 120 people died to the heat. 120 people in one day, one city. Now, one of the major cities of the town, but country, but still, 120 people on one weekend. Of course, it's all because no one has AC. Literally no one. I don't have AC. I stay cool by airing out the apartment in the morning when it's kind of not super hot, and then I close all the windows and make sure that no sunlight gets into the apartment. That's how I stay cool. On top of how it's called, a fan. And last weekend I found out putting a wet towel over my shoulders and head works awesome. It's great. I'm gonna do that in the future a lot more. So, oh boy, the heat, yeah, interesting. You might find it interesting. So the heat that we have right now, it's going up to 40 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure how much that is in Fahrenheit. I think it's 110-ish, maybe. And everyone is complaining, right? But in the 2000s and the 2010s, and after that, until now, it still is. That was the norm for the entire summer. And I remember that very, very clearly, because back in the day when my grandmother was still alive, every summer I thought, yeah, she's not gonna make it because of the heat and her health. Every summer that was a worry for me because of the massive heat, and it was really, really hot, just as hot as now. But the complaints weren't really there like today. Well, they were there, but way more silent. But now everyone, it feels like everyone is panicking because of the heat. And I'm like, why? It's literally the same as it was the past 26 years. Well, let's say even 30 years. Because at the end of the 90s, it was this hot too. And people were celebrating that it was finally really hot, and they could go and swim, in public pools, lakes, rivers. They could go have a barbecue, or how we call it in Germany, grillen. People love that. And all of a sudden, oh my god, people are dying left and right. Which is not surprising if you have a population that's getting older and older and no one has AC. Of course the people die. But in general, you also have to think about, there are a lot of old buildings here. And those buildings, you can't change a lot of things on those buildings because you aren't allowed to. They have to stay the way they are. So you have no insulation against the heat and stuff like that. And of course you can't put ACs in them. And then you have an apartment right under the roof. And you remember I said 40 degrees Celsius? How about 50 in the apartment and you can't get rid of that? Or 55. That's the heat in apartments like that. Of course people die in apartments like that all the time. Of course. We aren't built for heat like that. Without any airflow and stuff like that. Of course people die. And the thing, another thing, you know, why don't we have AC? Oh my god. The electricity. Oh my god, it needs so much electricity. The planet is dying. You know? For 30 something, 40 years, everyone says, oh my god, we have to save the energy, we have to save energy, we have to save the planet. And what happens? We use more and more energy. Am I the only one that, you know, is seeing that? We are using more and more energy. I can tell you, one person today uses more energy than one person in the 80s. Way more energy. Why? Because of all the electronics. All the electronics. Your phone, your mobile phone, your electric car. And in general, there's so much electronics in apartments that people use all the time. And even if you say, oh yeah, my refrigerator, right? That uses less energy to cool, yeah, but what about the computer energy, you know? Because it's a smart fridge. I mean, computers in cars, for example, if it's not an electrical car, you can argue, you know, yeah, the electricity is produced passively while it's running, right? But in an electric car, it's all the computer stuff in electric cars is literally reducing the mileage that you get out of an electric car. And you would think, right, that especially in a country like Germany, because Germany is so great, right? And oh, we have renewable energy, and we are producing so much, so we can use all the energy because it's renewable, right? No, because how dare you use energy? And by the way, we aren't producing that much energy. We have to import energy from other countries because we don't produce enough. I mean, for example, wind energy, great, right? But what if there's no wind? Or there's too much wind, which is a thing, right? We have all seen videos of, you know, wind turbines that getting demolished by just wind because they're rotating too fast, because they weren't shut down. Too much. If the wind is too fast, they get damaged. Or did you know that solar panels can only work properly in a specific range of temperature? So in the winter, they don't really work. And it's not even because, oh, there's the sun. That is a thing too, but also because it's too cold. Or right now it's too hot. You have all the sun, but it's too hot. So they don't produce the same energy as they would if it would be cooler. All this stuff of energy saving, it's so stupid. Because we aren't really saving any energy. All the energy we save by, you know, we don't use light bulbs anymore. We are now using LEDs. That's a complete bullshit. Complete bullshit. All the energy and material that you put into LED light bulbs, why? They're even harder to recycle. A normal light bulb, what is that? Glass and metal there. Easy to recycle. Man. And Wanna hear something really funny? The last, what years were they? 24 and 23? Those summers in Germany actually were really, really cold. Half the summer it was raining. Literally, half the summer, like 3-4 months of the summer, we had rainy weather. It was raining basically every day. And when I say basically every day, I mean there were maybe in those 3-4 months, maybe 10 days we didn't rain, and even those days weren't warm. The temperature literally was about 20 degrees Celsius, which for German summer is really low. At least looking at the summers of the past 35 years, about that. Really low temperatures and a lot of rain. I remember basically the entirety of the 2000s and the 2010s. In those summers there was basically never any rain. That's why when all of a sudden, oh yeah, there was all this rain, oh yeah, the decade-long drought is finally over. Oh, there was a drought? I wasn't aware of that. Also with all the heat, right? You would think that, oh, there would be, you know, oh, forest fires everywhere. No. I remember very, very specifically in the 90s. Every year we had forest fires in Germany. Every year. At least once. There have rarely been any forest fires in the past, I don't know, since the year 2000. I remember maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 in the 90s, every year at least once. Which a lot of them, of course, might have been because people throwing away their cigarette stubs, right? But still, there were forest fires all the time. And now, nothing. Literally nothing. Which, by the way, is a problem, because for the ones who don't know, forest fires, you know, they are completely natural. How do I know? Because they happened before humans even existed. They are literally plants and animals that can only thrive on burnt out forest ground. So yeah, this entire situation with the heat and all people dying, that's literally homemade. Literally homemade, because no one has freaking AC, which could be solved easily. Literally, I mean, yeah, you can argue, oh my god, an AC is so expensive. Yeah, yeah, somewhat. But with all the money that we are throwing out the window, right? I mean, and with that, I mean the government. They could subsidize that shit, right? Oh yeah, I don't know. For example, not paying VAT taxes, the VAT on them. That would work. But the government would never do that because that would be a good thing for the people, and the government hates the people. The usual. The usual. So the only thing you can do in Europe, especially if you live like, you know, me, in an old building where there is no AC and no isolation against the heat, air out the apartment, make sure that no sun comes in, a fan and a wet towel. A bucket of ice underneath you, maybe for your feet, that's great too, because that's cooling you down greatly, but there's not a lot you can do. I'm literally celebrating now every day when I go grocery shopping, because the store has AC. The store is always nicely cool. And the worst thing is, even if my apartment itself is not that hot, but it is. Last weekend we had over 30 degrees Celsius in here. It was horrible. If I go outside on the street, it's over 40 degrees. Because of all the buildings and the asphalt on the ground. And then the heat and the light comes from all the sides. Like in an oven, and it's even more hot. Which is why in the city it's always more hot than on the countryside. So if there's a heat wave, get out of town. If you can. That's the thing. If you can. If you can't, you are yeah. You are unlucky. But overall, the entire situation with all people dying left and right, yeah, that's homemade, because all the environmentalists and the politicians are, oh my god, we have to save the environment, don't care if you die. F you don't get AC. That's what it's coming down to. And that's why I rant about the heat in Europe. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more of my rants, subscribe. If you like this, give it a like. And yeah, I think I've said what I wanted to say. I'm done. It's hot. See you next time. Bye bye.